foremost, Zach, from Vic Fangio. Now, we kind of lambasted him for his decision to punt on that fateful 4th and 3 at midfield with 6 minutes left in the game. And I want to read this quote today. And then, well, let me read this first. This was Fangio on Sunday, all right? Similar principle in that it was still raw, right? The nerve is still exposed. Quote, on punting on or going forward on 4th and 3 instead of punting. Quote, I gave it a strong consideration, but at some point in the game, we've got to get a stop, and we weren't able to there. We held them to a field goal, but that made it a touchdown game and burned out some of the time there. Not some, almost all of the time, coach. Back to coach. Quote, so in retrospect, probably we should have gone for it, but I did give it serious thought, close quote. And then Zach, today, he kind of backpedaled on that a little bit, but he did provide some further rationale for why, kind of justify his decision on if he would change his decision to punt on 4th and 3. This is on Monday. No, quote, no, with 6.5 minutes to go, roughly, no matter what we had done, if we had continued that drive and successfully converted the 4th down, we were going to have to come up with a stop on defense. Our strong suit hasn't been 3rd and 2s, 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 4th, 4th and 2s, 4th and 3s. In fact, I think we haven't converted any of the 4th and 2s and 3s we've tried all year. So combining that fact with the fact that we were going to have to get a stop no matter what, I chose for that to be the time for us to go get a stop. We punted it down there. I believe they got at about the 10, and we needed to come up with a stop at some point in the game, regardless of what we chose to do on the 4th down. So that was the time that I chose to get the stop. Unfortunately, we held them to a field goal, but it burned too much time at that point. Closed quote. Zach, your reaction to Fangio, on one hand, expressing regret that he made the wrong decision and then kind of backtracking on that today.
Yeah, I don't pick up too much regret from Fangio. It seems like he's trying to talk himself into what he said last night about the decision and talk himself into justifying that decision. And, I side when you mentioned that remark about the previous 4th and 2s and 4th and 3s. Those don't matter. None of this matters in the previous weeks. You're playing that last night's game in that moment. Previous 4th downs have nothing to do with that situation. You have nothing to lose. As you laid out, Chad, on the pod last night, the Broncos were literally nothing to lose, everything to gain in that one scenario. To punt the ball away shows a lack of confidence in your players and also a lack of fight to do whatever it takes to win. And what's the old Gretzky expression? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I'd rather try for the 4th and 3, try to put the stake in the game, try to pull off the upset, than try to punt it away and rely on analytics and my past experiences. This is where Fangio is not comfortable being a head coach. And you can excuse this last year. He was a rookie coach, but I don't want to hear about pandemic. I don't want to hear about injuries. I don't want to hear about anything. The comfort level and the intuitive nature of the job has to come to him eventually, Chad. You can't keep waiting around for it. He has to know in that situation, no matter what someone's telling him from above, no matter what the computer model says, you have to go with what you think is best for your team and your players, what they would respond to best. Punting the ball away did not resonate positively with the fan base or the locker room. And I feel like if he would have went for it, even if he didn't get it, he would have gotten more respect regardless.
And it also came on the heels, let us not forget, and Zach Lee Butler, we will get to we can talk about how injuries have affected this season and what it might have looked like without injuries here in a minute. But Zach, the 4th and 3 questionable decision there, I get what he meant in terms of you needed to get another stop at some point in this game. Odds are, because you were already at the 50 basically, right? And so what he's saying is even their best laid plans, like if everything went perfectly and it was run 4 yards, run 4 yards, run 4 yards, and then touchdown or whatever, they were still going to have to kick it back to Mahomes. So at some point they were going to have to get a stop. I get that. But go ahead, Zach.
No, I don't mean to interrupt you. You have to kick it back to him anyway. If you score or you're punting, they get the ball back either way. So why not go for the whole thing? Go for the gusto. That's what I don't understand. I'm sorry.
Take your opportunity. Take your chance now while you have the opportunity to seize the moment, right?
Right.
Instead of losing what modest amount of control of your own destiny you had in that moment. But what makes it all the more questionable and unfortunate for Coach Fangio is it came on the heels of another kind of small blunder that I think a lot of people missed in that, I castigated somewhat Brandon McMahon I shouldn't say castigated. I put him on the losers list of our winners and losers only because he missed a 57-yard field goal and how it affected the game. Not just that it was a miss, but the fact that the Chiefs quickly used that short field and momentum to go get points, et cetera, et cetera. But, Zach, on that missed field goal, Fangio wasn't sure, and so he called a timeout. He actually iced his own kicker. All right, now this is something that I want to credit the guys over at the Fan on the Drive, D-Mac and Tyler Palumbo. Tyler Palumbo somehow, I don't know where he got the analytics, but he revealed his study on this issue that when a kicker from 50 trots out onto the field, gets a timeout called, etc., it reduces the odds of that being a good field goal by 10%. So whether the timeout comes from the opponent or your own side, the fact that you go out there, go through the motion, go through your little wind up and whatnot, and then have to stop and then recalibrate, it affects kickers by way of a 10% margin. Ended up missing that kick.